Swing wide the doors, the time's right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine, 'cause I'm not holding it in anymore. I'm gonna shout it out loud. I understand now what I'm here for and what this life is about. It's about love, it's about laughter, it's about comfort and smiles. It's about love, it's about kindness, it's about hearts open wide. It's about love, it's about passion, it's about taking a chance. It's about love, it's about service, it's about lending a hand, lending a hand. So swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine.
Good morning. Today and every day, we swing wide the doors to the presence of God, knowing that Spirit is in this place and in all places and all people. Just as the sun awakens us to a new day, the Spirit of God within awakens us to divine glory. And this glory within and all around us is everywhere we look and in every situation we encounter. With our hearts centered in Spirit, we can quiet our thoughts and meditate on the wonder of all of God's creation and our oneness with it. So I invite you now to take a deep breath. Become comfortable and gently release any cares of the day. Because your sole purpose at this moment is to experience the divine. And you begin to do so now as you relax in the sacred time and space at Unity Spiritual Center. Seeing through eyes of oneness, acknowledging our oneness, we at Unity Spiritual Center celebrate and honor people of every culture, of every creed, of every religion, of every race, of every age, and every lifestyle, knowing that there are many paths to God, many faces of God, many names for God, but only one God. And that God is expressing through all people in unique, special, and individual ways. As you look at the flame of the candle that we light every Sunday, remember that you too have a flame in your heart, that you are a divine spark, an individualized expression of God. We honor the one presence and one power of God with Unity's foundation statement, which you'll find on the screen behind me, and I invite you to join me in saying it aloud together. There is only one presence and one power, active as the universe and as my life, God the good, omnipotent. We give thanks for our spiritual community and for the beauty of our spiritual center. We give thanks that Unity Spiritual Center is a welcoming, warm, and inclusive community dedicated to studying and putting into practice empowering tools and principles for happiness, health, prosperity, and successful living. We give thanks that with our spiritual teachings, we can create extraordinary lives and a peaceful planet through our relationship with the loving God presence within each one of us and through our relationships with one another. Our vision and the opportunity for each one of us here is that you discover the power within you to create the life of your dreams, that you have peace of mind and deep happiness, that you enjoy joyous and loving relationships with yourself, with spirit, and with others, that you spend your days doing what you love and feel called to do, and most of all, that you know that your life matters, that you make a difference, and that the world is a better place because you're here. If you're visiting us for the first time, and I don't believe other than our guest speakers we have any first-time visitors, what I would like to do, though, is give you both a gift. So, Valerie, if you could bring 2 of the shell lays that we'd like to give out. These are gifts that we give to people who visit us for the first time. They're shell lays, and since you're from Switzerland, you'll love this joke. They're not chalets, they're shell lays. And they have a tag on it that says, just as God has a design for every shell in the sea, God also has a design for your life. And as you know, if you've been here for a while, we do have a couple of tables in the sanctuary. It's as a symbol of the community feeling that can occur when one gathers around the table with others. And on those tables are community journals. So you are always invited to leave a reflection, a favorite passage from Scripture, a quotation, anything else that you'd like to share with other people as a way to get to know each other better. And of course, we always have our food tables in the next room. So everyone is invited to join us for hospitality following the service. There'll be a table where Isabella will be having a book signing and answering any questions about her presentation today, as well as a wonderful spread prepared by our kids since it's the 5th Sunday. I'm going to take this time now to introduce our guest speaker. She is the author of Goddess Power, and I didn't mark your bio, let's see if I can find it fast. She has some wonderful things to bring to us, including being an international speaker, author, and higher education professional at JFK University, where she teaches world spirituality courses. Isabella is the author of the leading edge book series, One Truth, Many Paths on the World's Wisdom Traditions, which includes her latest book, which just came out, on the sacred feminine. So she's been teaching for 25 years, over 25 years, at JFK, the California College of the Arts, and numerous other educational institutions and religious venues. She's traveled extensively and participated in numerous rituals from diverse wisdom traditions. She's also from Switzerland, so she brings us the perspective of someone who grew up in another country, getting her master's degree from the University of Zurich. She's also a spiritual intelligence coach and teaches meditation to veterans suffering from PTSD. What a wonderful thing to do, as well as to other community members. And she lives in the San Francisco Bay Area with her husband, who's here with us today, and her 2 cats, who are not here with us today. Please join me in welcoming Isabella Price to Unity Spiritual Center. So at this time, as we move into the meditative portion of our service, and prepare to sing together, I'll ask that you turn off all electronic devices or your cell phones if you haven't done that already. And I will turn it over to our music maestro, Michael Hatfield.
I think we know this tune. It's been a minute since we've sung it. But we'll sing it and meditate upon it. As soon as Andrew finds the lyrics. There we go. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. One more time. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. Let's think about that for a second. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God.
And now as we continue to get comfortable in our seats, relaxing even more deeply into this time of worship, prayer, and meditation, let us open our hearts to receive the message of today's daily word. The topic for today is Spirit Within. Is there someone who would like to read the daily word for today? Thanks, Josephine. Come on up. It will be read by Josephine Tan.
Spirit in action. Author Emmett Fox writes, "The word is creative, and the strongest and most creative of words is I am. When I say I am, you are calling upon the universe to do something for you, and it will do it. The I am is God in action. As I pray, I connect with Spirit. I am diligent about using positive, constructive words as I connect with I am, my divine nature. I affirm I am, whole and well, knowing that Spirit within flows through me as perfect healing life. I speak words of abundance. I am prosperous, knowing that this is God's world and God lovingly provides for me. I turn to spirit within and affirm, I am peaceful and free, knowing I am enfolded in and connected to divine love at all times. This is my name forever, and this is my title for all generations. Exodus 3:15.
Thank you, Josephine. Unity Spiritual Center is a center of prayer and healing. We have a communal prayer box that's in the back of the sanctuary, along with green prayer request forms, and you are always invited to fill one out. And why don't we just take a moment to just keep those prayer requests that are in that box. Just take a moment to keep everyone who's represented in our prayer chest in our hearts. Knowing that divine love is enfolding each person that's represented, and divine order is taking place in each of their lives. The prayer requests that are placed in the box are prayed on by me and our USC prayer team for 30 days. Then we forward them to Silent Unity at Unity's World Headquarters, where they're prayed on for an additional 30 days. And as I mentioned, the prayer request forms are available in the back of the sanctuary next to the box. But we've also created a time in our service where we can make our prayers audible. So this is the time for you to offer your prayers to your spiritual family here so that we can support you and stand with you. So after we sing the introduction to this song, which is a call and response, you're invited to speak your prayer needs aloud, and we will answer each prayer request by singing, "Your prayer is my prayer too."
We are connected by the heart. Where do you end? Where do I start? Whatever you feel, I feel too. You're a part of me, I'm a part of you. Your prayer is my prayer too. 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 Your prayer is my prayer too.
We've also included a time to speak our gratitudes aloud, because sometimes we just want to share our thanksgiving with our spiritual community. So this is your time to just speak aloud anything that has touched your heart, made you happy, that you're grateful for.
I'd like to start. This last week, 2 phone calls from 2 sons saying that there's jobs. I could keep going, but if anybody else has some good news to share, we'd like to hear it. I'll sing to that. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
We give thanks for this opportunity to bless and to be blessed in spirit. We give thanks for the feelings of connection, of peace and warmth that fill our hearts and minds right now. We give thanks for the privilege of praying for others in our community, in our state, in our nation, and around the world. And we affirm that no matter what the appearances are, always and in all ways, divine love and divine order is everywhere present. At Unity Spiritual Center, your prayer is our prayer too. Amen.
Mother Mary, Mother Earth, bless us all, and we thank you for our birth. Mother Mary, Mother Divine, we honor you, the this is your day to shine. Tenderly nurturing all living things, watching through winters and glorious springs. Mother Mary, Mother Nature, a mother's love forever will endure. Tenderly nurturing all living things, watching through winters and glorious springs. Mother Mary, Mother Nature, a mother's love forever will endure. A mother's love forever will endure. A mother's love forever will endure.
Hello. Well, I would just like to thank Reverend Maggie so much for inviting me here, and it is such a great pleasure for me to share some of my work and my passion with all of you. Thank you so much for coming. I know everybody's got these insanely busy schedules, I mean, us included, so I really appreciate that you took the time. And I can feel the love and the welcoming embrace of this community. I immediately felt it as I was walking into this beautiful space. So I just want to honor that before we dive in. I would like to start with an invocation of the Great Mother of the universe, the goddess with her many faces, names, and manifestations. You are the beauty and the majesty of the earth, the tree, leaf, plant, river, lake, fur, claw, fang, blood, and tears. You are the cosmic womb, birthing solar flares, swirling planets, stardust, atoms, photons, and cells. You are the ever-unfolding creative life force and the ecstatic dancer on the cremation grounds. You are the honored and the scorned, the vilified and the holy, the wife and the virgin, the mother and the daughter. You are the first and the last. From you all things emerge, and to you they must return. You are the cosmic womb, from you all things emerge. In the beginning, there was only darkness, also known as black matter. Indeed, the dark-skinned goddess is the primordial mother, the great creative matrix. Her spirit hovered over the primeval waters, and her cosmic womb gave birth to swirling planets, atoms, cells, and all of life. She is the ever-unfolding creative life force and the ecstatic dancer on the cremation grounds. She's the first and the last. She's the Paleolithic mother carved at the entrance of rock shelters 25,000 years ago. She's the Neolithic bird and snake goddess, dating back to the 4th and 5th millennia before the Common Era, and perhaps even older than that. In Egypt and ancient Babylonia, which is modern-day Iraq, the Great Mother was worshipped as the Queen of Heaven and the Savior of the human race, to mention just two of her multiple titles. Many of these pagan or pre-Christian goddesses, I can mention Inanna Ishtar of Babylonia, the goddess Isis of Egypt, or Demeter in ancient Greece, also had dark-skinned manifestations. Today, in our so-called progressive modern times, comments can be found floating around in cyberspace referring to the dark goddess as a witch or as a demon, as I just recently came across. A strange reversal of the ancient powers and functions of the goddess, indeed. The question for us arises, well, what is it, what is so bewildering, even terrifying to many people about dark-skinned goddesses? And what is their deeper function and symbolism at this time of dramatic changes on the planet that we're all going through now together? I would invite you to start to take a look at Kali, the goddess Kali, highly venerated in India's Shakta tradition. May I ask you, who's ever traveled to India, especially southern India and eastern India, can you raise your hand so it gives me an idea? And others might be familiar with Kali. So my husband was so kind to volunteer to hold it up. I tried to keep it low-key technologically because it's just this one image, and I've seen so many PowerPoint presentations that created an endless series of complications. I didn't want to lose precious time. But for those of you who don't know Kali, so I'm going to introduce you to her. So she has, as you can see, that garland of severed heads around her neck, pendulous breast, disheveled hair, sunken eyes, and a lolling tongue hanging from her blood-stained mouth. And clearly, at first, she appears gruesome to most of us Westerners, since we don't have such an icon in our religions. And so she's actually depicted on this image dancing her frenzied dance amongst the funeral pyres on the cremation grounds in Varanasi, which is the sacred city in India at the banks of the Ganges, where people go and prepare themselves for their death. So you see a lot of old people there, you see funeral pyres, and then the remnants of the body after, they've been consumed by fire or cast into the sacred water, because it's considered to be a good rebirth. That's what Hindus believe. So Kali has multiple arms. One hand holds up a bloody sword, another one a severed head, and a skull cap filled with blood. What are we to make of her terrifying representation? To get a deeper understanding of the Dark Mother, we have to go beyond her physical appearance. The severed heads around her neck symbolize our finite attachments and all the illusions that we are hanging on to, and they are being destroyed by Mother Kali if we invoke her. She's considered an embodiment of divine love and wisdom, illumination that can be gained in the dark night of the soul, and I will get back to that. And her nakedness literally symbolizes the naked truth, or the supreme truth, as it is called in Hinduism. So the Dark Mother helps us in this function to come to terms with our deeply entrenched inner fears, most notably the fear of death. And today psychologists actually tell us that the fear of death, the existential fear, is one of the most pervasive and strongest fears that we humans carry in us. So the Dark Mother Kali and all the Dark Mothers, including the Black Madonna and other African mothers, dark-skinned mothers, help us to step outside our comfort zones and face our own darkness, which is all the shadow, the psychological material that we have not been able to acknowledge, that is also in us and that we have to come to terms with so that we can eventually process it, release it, and find healing, because we all carry these wounds and these fears and sometimes anger and sadness in us. And here is where the Dark Mother comes in. Nothing is excluded. She holds everything in her one infinite embrace. Her medicine is holy darkness. Holy darkness. When you look at all the mystics in the wisdom traditions, they all talk about the dark night journey of our soul that we sometimes have to go through when we suffer, when we experience deep pain. And you all know, based on your own experience, that as excruciatingly difficult as these times are, this is what also helps us sometimes to open our hearts and to grow psychologically and spiritually. I want to mention just one quick example from the Christian tradition. The great mystic Master Eckhart, who lived in the Middle Ages, reminds us that the ground of our soul is dark. We do have to go through this dark night, through these moments, to grow and to evolve. And that means we also have to come to terms with our deepest fears and have to take the plunge sometimes into the darkness, which is also the great unknown. And we know that the unknown can be a scary place for many of us, because when we get into the unknown, we venture outside of our comfort zones. And we all know that this is anything but easy, but that is the only way how we can grow and evolve. I would like now to invite you to join me for a brief guided meditation. I call it the cave meditation, the dark cave of Mother Earth, the womb. And yes, if we can perhaps dim down the lights a little bit. And I just invite you to close your eyes and perhaps take a few deep breaths, deep inhale into your belly, and then gently draw your breath all the way into your chest. And then on the exhalation, all the way from the throat and chest area back into your belly. So take 3 deep rounds of breathing and relax in your body and just allow whatever sensations come up, physical sensations, emotions, allow everything to arise just as it is, accepting everything, rejecting nothing. And now I invite you to visualize yourself venturing into a dark cave. Some of you may have gone into one of these caves at some point in their lives, and so you can bring that memory back right now as your eyes are closed and as you're still breathing. For those of you who've never had a chance to go into one of these caves, I just ask you to please imagine yourself entering a dark cave, entering into the womb of our Mother Earth, our first mother. Imagine you're in that profound darkness and you're all by yourself. All external distractions have faded away. You have to draw your entire attention into the core of your being, the cave of your heart. Surrounded by an impenetrable darkness, you cannot even see where your next step may take you. What is coming up for you? Fear, despair, a feeling of helplessness? Are you worried you may not be able to make it to the exit of the cave? I invite you to sit with these strong emotions or physical sensations for some time, allowing for whatever comes up to arise, accepting it just as it is. And keep breathing the heartbeat of Mother Earth. You're held in her womb in the darkness. She embraces you. How will you find your way out of this cave? What is going to carry you? You have to trust that you will be guided step by step. You have to trust the unknown territory that lies ahead of you, and you have to surrender to the mystery. It is by facing our deepest fears that we become liberated, and by surrendering to that which we cannot know, that we become whole human beings. invite you to slowly come back, feel into your body, take a few breaths and slowly open your eyes and feel the room, feel everybody else's presence in the room. And if you're so inclined, I invite you to perhaps continue this meditation at some later point, perhaps when you're at home tonight before you go to sleep, and see what's coming up and what messages may come to you. I believe that right now on our planet we are going through this crucible of what we could call holy darkness from the perspective of the Dark Mother. This birth canal with all its birth pangs, both individually and collectively as humankind. We witness these birth pangs in the shocking rise of extremist movements and unprocessed collective psychological shadow issues such as racism, sexism, xenophobia, and Islamophobia, to mention just a few. It is unfortunate that our Western culture has, for the most part, had a very dualistic understanding of the light and the darkness. And this is partly a result of organized Christianity and, other organized religions and the cultural conditioning that came with it. Because, as you know, Jesus Christ, officially was born around the time of the solstice, when the new light starts to come in. And so, of course, the light was associated with all the good things, and the darkness, which is the night, eventually came to be affiliated with what is evil. And you can see it even in movies. You find this stereotypical notion. It is very pervasive in our culture. So the light and dark are viewed as rigid and incompatible polarities. And this rigid duality also finds its expression, I believe, in all forms of racism and stereotypical notions that are related to skin color and blackness. I believe that psychologically it actually reinforces these notions. But when you look at different wisdom traditions, for example, at Chinese Taoism, you all know the yin and yang symbol. And the yin represents the darkness, and the yang represents the light. And each one carries a dot of the other's essence within its own essence. So those two polarities are not viewed as rigid polarities, but they are viewed as complementing each other, as creating a balance, a healthy balance and integration. And together they form what the Chinese call the harmonious universe in Taoism. So again, the light cannot be without the dark, and it could not be recognized would it not be for the dark. And the night is actually a place where we go deep within. We may pray, we engage in contemplation and meditation. So there is nothing really evil or bad about the darkness as such. But again, it is very, very unfortunate that our culture has somewhat reinforced these stereotypes, as I mentioned before, that the light is associated with the good and the dark with evil. And again, it's very pervasive. Again, in the movie industry, we find these stereotypes, and again, in the whole problem with racism that we face again, in such a virulent way. So I would also like to mention that in pre-Christian cultures, again, a lot of the goddesses like Isis, Inanna had also dark-skinned representations. And of course, we all know the Black Madonna in the Christian tradition. So these dark-skinned goddesses may hence be viewed as actually representing all the mysteries of the night and the mysteries of death that have been collectively so repressed in our Western culture. The Dark Mother does symbolize the great dissolution, which is related to death as well, but also not just physical death, death of our egos, of our false self-concept. The Dark Mother works on us by turning everything we took for granted upside down, and by burning up all our illusions and all the old patterns of separation to heal the collective heart of humanity. It is in this crucible that we may attain liberation and with it illumination. Again, there is no illumination without going through the darkness and the dark night journey of the soul, to again use the term by the mystics. The Dark Mother also embodies the raw and untamed forces of nature, and that's the case with Kali, who is viewed as Mother Nature, but also the Dark Madonna, who is often venerated in grottos and shrine in nature. When you go to Europe and visit some of these shrines, or the Guadalupe, it's sometimes a water spring that's nearby, trees, vegetation. So she's like the ancient pre-Christian great earth mothers and grain mothers, and she's the one who rules, the forces of nature and the creative impulse of life. In addition, she also has the function of being an evolutionary catalyst for the changes that are now underway, as I firmly believe. And we could even call the Dark Mother the ultimate sacred activist who galvanizes grassroots movement and popular democratic uprisings against oppressive governments. And I would like to just mention two examples here. The famous Guadalupe in Mexico has often been invoked by Mexican farm workers in their struggle against oppressive governments. And in Europe, going back to the 1980s, in Poland, the so-called workers' movement called Solidarity, Solidarność, led by Lech Walesa, actually when they demonstrated, they would always carry a picture of the Black Madonna of Poland with them to assist them against oppressive Soviet rule. So these are just two examples. I could mention many more. So the Dark Mother is really the mother of all people, no matter what race, gender, social status, sexual orientation, or religious affiliation. And we talked about that. I know this is the vision of unity. These are unity's guidelines. So she's the one who holds everything, everybody, all the paradoxes in her one great embrace. So I believe that now is the time of the Dark Mother. She's here to guide us. She's ready to take the lead. And I would invite her to be willing to follow her call into the searing fire of inner transmutation, healing, and ultimately love. Because unless we heal ourselves, we cannot heal others. Unless we love ourselves, we cannot fully love others. So the journey is not bypassing that. The journey is going through the pain and the suffering and opening our hearts on this ever deepening life journey. And I would like to conclude by mentioning one interesting example, something which happened. Some of you may remember in the fall of 2015, an artist projected a huge image of Kali on the Empire State Building in New York. When you go home, you can Google Kali and the Empire State Building, and you will see these images. It was just before the election year, which was a very auspicious timing. There she was, looming large. And I remember thinking, wow, this is like a major message. It's as if she said, I have arrived. here in the United States, I'm now taking over, and yes, there will be chaos, yes, there will be purse pangs, but there is hope. We will eventually get out of this, and something new is ready to emerge, to be birthed. So I just wanted to mention that for you, so check it out. And I would like to conclude with a very, very brief quote from a sacred scripture from India called the Radiance Sutras in the Tantric tradition. The Radiance Sutras remind us that secrets are hidden in darkness and difficult nights. Secrets are hidden in darkness and difficult nights. This is the call of the Dark One, the roar of life seeking its very source. The union you long for is within reach. Go for it. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Isabella. That was wonderful. Wasn't that interesting? And how interesting to know that Kali was presaging a time of chaos. And yeah, so I love the hopeful interpretation that we are on our way. We just have to go through the difficulty right now, that dark passage, right? Thank you so much. And Isabella will be in the Fillmore room following the service today. So if you have questions that came up from her service, please do go see her. But right now, we want to just affirm what it is that we have here and do here. As you can tell, we have and offer positive, practical, progressive spiritual teachings and tools that honor the universal truth in all religions and respects each individual's right to choose a spiritual path. And here at Unity Spiritual Center, we have an inspiring vision, exciting mission, and compelling values by which we strive to live. So I invite you now to please join me in saying them aloud together. Our vision is centered in God. We co-create a world powerfully transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. Our mission is we are a creative, joy-filled spiritual community dedicated to healing, inspiring, and transforming the lives of all people through prayer, education, and love. And our values are, we are spirit-led, generous with resources, inclusive, joyously creative, and guided by integrity. And so in this space, feeling inspired by our vision, our mission, and our values, feeling enriched by what we've experienced here today and what we're about to experience, let us take time now to be a channel for enrichment through our generous tithes and love offerings. Practicing the principle of tithing ourselves, as a spiritual community, we will be tithing 10% of what is collected today to an organization that's been impacted by the recent fires. I have made contact with the Reverend Margaret Flick, who is the minister of Unity of Santa Rosa. She was very touched by our desire to help our fellows in the north, and she, at the time I spoke with her, didn't know exactly how to direct those funds or where we will be directing them to, but I am in touch with her. And so 10% of this fifth Sunday offering will go toward our neighbors in the north. So let us take a moment now to bless our tithes and love offerings, either placing them in our hands or next to our hearts as we say our offertory prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God.
All right, we're going to pick it up. I know last week I was really quiet, and this week so far kind of quiet, but I'm back. Sounds like this. I'm here. So is God if you're here. So is God if we're here. So is God. God is everywhere, man. God is everywhere. Well, I've been kicking around this life now on 63 years. I swear it's been one heck of a ride. I think I've conquered all my fears. Then someone asked me if I could sing a religious song or two. That's when I realized this life takes more than one man can do. And I said that I'm here. So is God if you're here. So is God if we're here. So is God. God is everywhere, man. God is everywhere. God explained to me that God was in everything I touch. That God had found a way to find me, but did it matter that much? I got handed a mirror, told to take a look. I wondered what it was about. They said the face you see is the face of God, struggling to get out. I said I'm here. So is God if you're here. So is God if we're here. So is God. God is everywhere, man. God is everywhere. Well, I thank my friends for all the help, and I set out on my way. I thank the Lord for giving me life every single day. But the thought still dwells upon my mind as I say my little prayers. If I didn't know now what I didn't know then, God would find a way to care. And I said, I'm here. So is God if you're here. So is God if we're here. So is God. God is everywhere, man. God is everywhere. One more time. If I'm here. So is God if you're here. So is God if we're here. So is God. God is everywhere, man. God is everywhere. Oh, that was fun.
He's back. I love it.
Yeah.
Please join with me in blessing our offering.
We give thanks for the many blessings that are in our church this very moment. We open ourselves to the infinite possibilities that are ours to choose. We are filled with a mighty faith that empowers and frees us to live our divine purpose and serve our community with excellence. And so it is.
And I want to make a few announcements. As I mentioned, immediately following this, Isabella will be in the Fillmore room to answer any questions. She also has some copies of her book. Brand new book, just came out, right? Like a day, yeah, on the 13th. So it's a brand new baby in the world, and she'll be signing that in the Fillmore room. I'm also doing a special soul book workshop. I only have 6 kits, and I believe that 3 of them are spoken for. But if you didn't get a chance to sign up and you're interested, come see me. We might be able to fit you in. And basically what this is, it's put on by an organization in Idaho called Brave Girls Club, and they've since expanded that to be braveliving.com. But she has created this movement, and so starting yesterday, she's got groups around the world and even around the country and even around the world doing soul books, and they're made out of simple materials. It's a way to remember what's important to you when you feel like you've lost your way or just need a little bit of a reminder. So very special thing. It's a 2-part workshop. We'll be working 1 to 3 today, 1 to 3 next Sunday. The cost, which really barely covers the materials, is $20. But if that speaks to your heart, please come see me. We may be able to get you in. I also want to mention the lighthouses, because we have another community art project that is open for all. And as you may have seen, there are wooden lighthouses. We've only got 20 of them, and I think 15 of those are spoken for. But the idea around this is that it's a spiritual practice. You answer a question internally as you work on decorating your lighthouse, and that question is, how do I shine my light in the world? So that's the reflection question. You can decorate your lighthouse any way you want. The lighthouse is free. What we ask, though, is that you donate it, you give your finished piece back to USC, and we're going to have a silent auction of them the last Sunday in November, which is going to be really fun. And if you get attached to your lighthouse, you can bid on your own lighthouse. So as I said, we've got 5 of those left, so definitely want to grab one if you're interested in doing that. We'll start taking in the finished lighthouses next Sunday. So we'll start bringing them in. And then, as I said, the auction on the last Sunday in November. Last but definitely not least, we are announcing our Foundations for the Future fund drive. And this is going to be going on through December 31st of this year. We've needed to replace our roof. We've been in the building for 61 years. We have a roof that is in bad need of repairs. We went around getting quotes, and they were running pretty high, like $35,000, $40,000. We had 2 members of the congregation who were able to find a professional roofer who would give us a roof replacement for only $25,000. More than that, these 2 people, Ron Willis and his partner, Q Chrisman, are each donating $10,000 toward that roof replacement. So right now, let's give a big round of applause for that. And what we're hoping that the congregation can do in appreciation of that kind of generosity is at least match that kind of donation. So we are hoping as a congregation to raise $10,000 by the end of the year. We have our wonderful little thermometer here. As we receive donations, you'll see that red go up. Right now it's at 0, so I'm hoping somebody will donate so we can move that little marker a little bit. We also have a new online option for donating. If you go to our website, which is unitysf.org, there's a new little widget that we put up last week, and it's a thermometer too. It's a horizontal thermometer, but you'll be able to track online how much money we're raising. You'll also be able to donate online, and you can create your donation weekly, monthly, one time, however you want to join in and contribute to this Foundations for Our Future. You can do that, any amount, any way you want to format that. But let's see those thermometers rise. Let's, as a group, let's match the generosity that we are so appreciative of coming from Q and Ron. Okay, excited? Let's give another round of applause, all right? We can do it. So with that, we're going to bring in our kids.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the presence of God in you, empowering you to do great things. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let me walk with my family in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. Wherever I am, God is. And all is well. Thank you, God.